Today on the Skid Factory, we're back swinging spanners on the Pajero, starting with bolting up this eBay intercooler. Welcome back to the Skid Factory. This is my 2010 NT Pajero, which I purchased as a new daily driver, and I blew it up. We've replaced the engine previous episode, and now we're kind of back to square one where I originally pictured starting the video series, but anyway, here we are. This is my standard intercooler, which if you've watched all the way through to last week's episode, the holes, then
it's high flow.
It's so that's rubbish. And I've got this thing here. So I just jumped onto eBay, searched through intercoolers, wasn't too sure the right one to find. Alan's the king at eBay stuff, so he said, yo, buy this thing. I think it was like $150, I think, about that. We've measured up our size in there. There's so much room, and this is going to fit kind of smack bang underneath that grill there. So today's task is to do this and then head off to Just Autos to get the car tuned. Apparently it's already got a tune in there. I couldn't tell you because it ran like crap when I first had it. So I know just having an intercooler that works is going to drastically increase the performance. But Josh and Matt down there know their stuff with the diesels. They're going to tune it up and make it run a million times better. I do have plans for it, an airbox and a snorkel and everything, but because I need the car back on the road now, I'm probably just going to get this done now. Airbox and snorkel can be done later. But anyway, as I said, there's lots of room there, so let's get this grill off, make up some pipes, bend some stuff, weld some stuff, and make some whooshy noises. Or not make whooshy noises because there's not a hole in my intercooler. Cut out of there.
Larger front-mounted intercoolers can be difficult to mount depending on the room that's available. Choosing a correctly sized core in the first place will be beneficial in the long run. Some vehicles will require major modifications to the bonnet latch support or the bumper bar, but in our case there's plenty of room and only minor trimming was required.
Is it the right way? I suppose we're going to find out.
A job like this can be done at home, so don't be scared to get the welder out and have a crack yourself.
Crooked.
A 3-inch hole saw is your best friend when you need that little bit of extra room for the piping.
It always pays to double check when you buy an eBay intercooler. Make sure there's no swarf on the inside. And no, that's not from us. That's actually like stuck in there. Like it's glued.
Nice.
It's proper stuck there. Imagine that through your turbo.
How's it going to get through your turbo?
What
on the other side of the intercooler, you should.
Engine, I said. I said engine, didn't I?
Cast alloy bends have a tighter radius than a mandrel bend, which works in our favour to align the silicon joiner in the correct position. Rolling a bead onto the ends of the piping provides a tight seal against the silicon joiner and hose clamp. Fabrication requires a lot of trial and error, so the pipes are tacked together and test fitted many times. Refitting items such as the airbox is also required to ensure nothing is touching.
No hose clamp on that one.
Hectic blower valve.
What do you reckon?
It does go.
It runs.
The intercooler is crooked.
It's level. The intercooler is level with the number plate.
And the
which is
number
also
plate's
crooked.
not centred.
Oh, it's not centre, is it? Yeah, it is. The one's not centre. The L is.
Hey, Jono.
This is our mate Jono.
This is Zar. That's Rumby's sister.
So Pajero's running, sorted. I'm keen to drive this thing home now. A couple of things to mention. As I mentioned, the airbox. I am going to be upgrading the airbox and making a snorkel for it. So hence why I'm keeping this for the moment, because this is my daily driver and I need it back on the road to drive it. So that's why I've left the airbox there and I've routed the piping underneath it. I did move the four-wheel drive solenoids from just kind of the sight underneath the airbox there just to the front, just drilled a couple of holes, nut certs, and just extended the vac lines there. Come get a closer look, Alan. I've also, I drilled out the rivets that were holding the overflow in, and I've mounted it at the back there, and I've just actually...
So it used to be where the
It used to be here.
cold pipe is, and now it's basically the opposite
back.
end of the battery. It's mounted to the battery tray.
We could have gone underneath with the piping, but
I don't
it's a
reckon.
pain in the arse.
I reckon it would have been very, very difficult.
It would have been rubbing on things. So the main thing with intercooler piping is they can't be rubbing on anything, because if it rubs, and like example here, if it's sitting on the battery and rubbing through the battery, that will cause a hole in the pipe and you'll be stuck in the bush. Well, I now know that the car can run.
You'd be stuck underwater.
If you're stuck underwater and you'll bend a rod, you can, like the way we've done the intercooler here, I've seen people online do them with eBay, just a generic eBay kit. But one thing you got to remember is it can't be touching anything. So all those silicon jointies you've got that are rubbing on the airbox and rubbing on the battery and the power steering reservoir, it's going to rub through eventually. So it's not the way to do it. There are some awesome kits online. Johnny Tig does an awesome kit that actually sits right up in front of the condenser there. Well worth the money if you're going to do that. But if you've got the skills, you can also fab up your own one, so why not? We are about to throw the bonnet on. I'm driving this thing home. Very keen to get it to be back in my beloved Pajero. And as I said, we're going to see Just Autos to get this thing tuned and performing at its optimum.
Optimum.
What's the word we can use
150 over injectors, 40 psi.
there? No, that's what Sebi said. Sebi's like 40 psi. How much do these run? They probably run like that from standard, no?
Nah, not that much.
But yeah, stoked it's back together. Just need to bleed up the cooling system.
I've already done that. What are you talking about?
Well, we don't. Yeah, we've got to check that it's bled and then go.
You were asleep.
So we'll see. Hang on, who was the one that had the freaking nap today? Oh
Maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, well, you owed me.
yeah. Good dogs. All right. We'll see you guys at Just Autos. Cheers. Fade to either an ad break or just the Skid Factory logo. Good morning from sunny Nambour on the Sunshine Coast. We're just around the corner from Just Autos to get the trusty Pajero tuned. It's got a clunky diff and the exhaust is rubbing on the crossmember, but I'll fix that one day. One day.
Probably already like that, wasn't it?
It was. Nah, the exhaust. Well, maybe the exhaust was always rubbing on the crossmember. I never had enough power to load the engine up. Okay, here we are. Just Autos. Oh, they've taken over the front here.
Sweet. More car parks.
Where do we? I'll just reverse it in here.
Got Woody's beast up on the dyno, strapped down hard because it's going to make so much power. Got Matt here. He's one of the tuners here. They've got Josh as well, but Matt owns the joint, so he gets the job of making the most of this Pajero. How you going, Matt?
Good mate, how are you?
Good. First of all, what do you think of 4M41 Pajero engines?
Yeah, look, the 3.2 is definitely probably an underrated sort of engine. They can produce a huge amount of torque and power for the size. And you know, they were very common in the earlier days. Common rail since then, they've obviously Mitsubishi went to a 2.5 then back down to a 2.4. You know, both, you know, all the Mitsubishis, I think that they call them a poor man's Hilux with, you know, the way they go down that path. But to be honest, like the quality that you get with some of the Mitsis is, you know, second to none, and the price is really well matched.
Don't know what that go was with that.
That was everything turning off at once.
I don't know. Keep going, you're all good.
Cool.
So, but yeah, look, Mitsis, I think you'll be pretty surprised about what this sort of car can make. You know, this is obviously manual with, you know, no DPF and bits and pieces from factory, so, you know, we should be able to make a fairly decent gain. I'm expecting around about 120 horsepower standard, something like that.
Yep.
We should be getting maybe 165, maybe pushing a little bit higher than that. We'll just see how it all flows from there.
Sweet.
But the increase will be tenfold. Like, they just, you know, they're a completely different car to drive.
Yep.
So
So Matt did tune my Pajero that I had years ago before we took it around Australia, and yes, I can attest to it being a much better and nicer vehicle to drive, especially when it doesn't have a DPF smoking up the highway anymore, which is what happened to mine. So
that's all right. We'll run it up and we'll get working and we'll see how we go.
See?
Wow. It's got to be tuned. Let's see what boost is running. 20, yeah, that's definitely not standard boost pressure. Yeah, the feeling's quite deep.
Does that mean this is not standard, eh?
Definitely not standard. It's got to be pretty impressive numbers to try and beat. Did it drive pretty good? It's making 200 wheel.
I told you, it's kind of a bit, it's just weird through gear changes and stuff like that, I think.
Matt's just pulled the original file from the ECU via the OBD2 port. Not sure what program he's using, but
this is just a program we call PCM Flash, but it's just an interface to be able to pull files from it. There's plenty of tools you can get from Mitsubishi's, the Denso platform to pull files. It's just one we choose in particular.
Yep.
But we're just having a look through here at the file. We're going to go through and make up a file. I've already made an adjustment. So we're going to load in what we've got to start with and see how we improve on what we've got.
So going off those power figures, Matt, this thing's been tuned before then, yeah?
Yeah, look, it definitely, as far as 196 horsepower, it's definitely tapped in a fair bit. So, you know, boost pressure at 22 pounds, so we can probably push that another 3 pound or so, up to about 25.
I've got a couple of spare turbos, so that's
So,
all right.
yeah, we can definitely go through there. We set up with the VM, we'll set it up properly and see how we go. But feeling's pretty good, but yeah, we'll see what goes on from there. Basically, the only reason where the cars come in, so it's obviously been tuned before, and 196 horsepower, it's pretty much there. We're scraping the end of the barrel. But what I did notice is the bottom end boost, we could have, you know, got a fair bit more in. We're actually getting around 25 pounds and starting to taper it off. The difference is this bottom end here is actually all to do with the VM table that we use to set up the actual turbo. So what we've got is an increase of boost pressure with a less angle of VN, right? And we're creating an extra 100 newton meters at 1600 straight off the tap there. So the fact that you're saying before you're having that lag between gear changes and stuff like that, that'll definitely be solved now. You're not going to have that. You're pretty much riding your power curve straight away.
Awesome.
So that's going to be a massive increase there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, like for us, like it's, you know, yes, we've only come up 50 newton meters overall in your horsepower output, right? But as an average goes, we've smashed it, because at the bottom, to get 100 newton meters any given day of the week, 100 newton meters is massive. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's at such low RPM, that you'll go,
wow,
it feels like the car's got another 200 horsepower.
Awesome.
Do you know what I mean? That's what it'll entail to. So I guess I'll go make a few little tweaks and changes, and then we'll go from there, and we'll get you road tested and see how we are.
Sweet. Okay, so that last run there, 212 horsepower with a bit of water on the intercooler, bring down intake temps. Just a bit of an experiment. We did stitch Matt up quite a fair bit here, so the car had already been tuned. As you said, what do they make standard? 120, 125?
About 125, yeah. So 125 is pretty much on par. Maybe a little bit more, maybe in the 30s, but that's roughly what you would see. So to come from that to 196 that it had was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, definitely no slug anyway.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to think that we could get such a good increase from what was previously in there. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, what was there, like 30% gain at like 1600 RPM is, and that you said, you know, what can I improve on? And that's the first thing I said to you was, I don't like the lag at the start getting into it. So that's going to be massive, I think, for me.
Yeah, look, I mean, and this is the thing, like, as much as we've really only made 10% more overall torque, but we've made 30% more torque earlier.
Yeah.
So where we had our peak torque before, we've just shifted it in a little bit sooner and managed to get that. So, I mean, that's where you get the drivability from. It's all about that drivability.
Yep.
And if you get it in earlier, it makes a world of difference. So, you know, being a Pajero owner, you would understand that. But
Former Pajero owner.
Alan's now more of a Porsche guy.
It's not my car.
Hang on, do they know about the Porsche? No one knows about the Porsche, do they? Anyway, I want to go for a drive. Thanks heaps for that, man. It's like
no, happy days.
hugely appreciated.
All good.
Thanks for sharing some knowledge.
No, I won't
all
get
good.
stuck going up my hill telling my tinny.
No, you definitely won't get stuck. 3.2, great motor. It'll be awesome truck for you, mate.
Sweet.
There'll be no sweat.
All right, awesome. Let's go for a drive.
All right.
So that concludes the Dyno Tune, and we kind of stitched Matt up a little bit, but very stoked with the improvements that he's just made. That increase of 100 Newton meters right there is just awesome. And yeah.
Remember that tuning is about drivability, not just about dyno numbers.
Oh, definitely not. No, not
Matt
at
fiddled
all.
around with the throttle, the way the throttle behaved a little bit to make it so Woody likes it. So
Personalised it for myself.
personalised it for Woody's tastes.
My favourite thing that he said was that I'm making more power than a 200 series, Alan. Sorry, more torque than a 200 series factory.
You can't afford a 200 series anyway.
No, I definitely can't. Well, he also said that they're poor man's Hilux, so I like that too.
Poor man's Hilux.
I do like
what this?
I do like my Toyotas.
It's a poor
I think
man's
he was,
Prado, bro.
I think he was talking in like the forms of Triton and stuff anyway.
No, this is a poor man's Prado. This is a sensible man's Prado.
It is.
One that likes to have things other than expensive cars. Like food.
So that's it for today's episode. The Pajero is back on the road and tuned. Well, more tuned than what it was already. We're still not done that yet though. There's a bunch more stuff to happen on the Pajero, so stay tuned. If you want to support us, you can jump on, buy some merchandise, www.theskidfactory.com. We've also got a Patreon page for some bonus perks, seeing the videos ad-free before anyone else. You get to comment first on the videos.
You get spoilers too.
You do get the spoilers.
I wonder if they like that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to pushing Alan's patrol off a cliff because he's a chooch.
You don't have a bull bar.
All hail the Pajero.
It does make more power than the patrol at the moment, so
By the time this episode comes out, yours would already be done.
I
So
would hope so.
yeah. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Cheers, homies. Know what you're saying?
Why is your 4B so
What?